Welcome back, everyone. Our Slab Comics doomed. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about buying raw comics, some sales information that's real because we sold them, and show you some examples of raw 9/8 and what the difference might be between that and a slab book. But before we get into all of that, you can find Rachel and I every Monday night live on Instagram, 5 p.m. Pacific time, selling these comic books we're talking about today. Been doing it for years. If you haven't checked it out, it's worth checking out. What else should people check out?
We do an Instagram Buy It Now feature where on our Instagram page, we always have a post with books available for sale. So check that out if you haven't already. We post every single week over on eBay. Follow us there. And for the first time ever, we're going to be doing a hosted auction over on Shortboxed on September 20th. So you'll definitely want to check that out if you haven't been on Shortboxed before. We're going to have tons of raw comics, all grades, all eras available for auction.
It should be fun. And also, we buy collections. If you're selling, we're buying. So always think of us. Here's a code that you can scan, or just look in the description. You can email us. On to the topic. I started out in selling comic books in 2003 when CGC opened. And I sold a little bit over 500 books on eBay in a period of time over maybe 1 or 2 years. All slabbed, all really, really high grade. Primarily got them from the same place. None of them pressed. It was before all of that. And that really kind of opened my nose to that way of selling. I like the fact that people were confident in the grades that were coming from CGC. And that way also no one can really dispute it. They wouldn't get damaged in shipping, etc., etc. So I had a lot of success. Sold some really big books back then. And then took a long, long break from comics. 17 years or almost 20 years. When I came back, that was how I was going to sell comics. I decided I wanted to do it again, reopen my relationship with CGC, started sending in tons of books, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. We spent $35,000 slabbing in 1 year alone. We were sending in entire boxes of new books. We got 3 boxes, I think, of 9/8 pre-screens.
If you go to our very beginning of our channel, you can see some of our unboxings of those particular books that we're talking about.
And we started late. We started the channel after we'd been doing it for over a year. Before Rachel even started, I was doing it all the time. Had a lot of successes, but it got pretty inconsistent. So we started doing this full-time together in 2022, and the market just started to really tank after the comic boom, and prices were going down. And during the comic boom, for some reason I don't understand now, I didn't understand it then, everyone wanted a slab. They wanted 9/8 from newer eras. They wanted the highest grades possible. You didn't seem to have as much of a problem selling them. And the whole bottom fell out of that. So I got a lot of the wrong books graded, and it cost me a lot of money. I couldn't even get back the cost of slabbing on a lot of them. I'm still kind of going through my inventory. Every book is not a prime candidate for slabbing. And just so you know, I'm not saying no one should get anything professionally graded. You should definitely do what you want to do, and you should definitely buy what you want to buy. What we're going to talk about today is a lot of people have pivoted for lots of reasons. Having said that, there's been these eras, these periods of time where comics were bought and sold in different ways. Really, we have a new guard coming in, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Back in the day, in the 60s, when the hobby really started to be collected by a larger group of people, a place you could buy back issues, maybe you'd get lucky in a bookstore, or a lot of people would go, there's ads in comic books about people who sold comic books. You'd send them the money, they'd send you the comic book. And sometimes it would be in a manila envelope. My brother told me he just bought books. It came in a manila envelope. They didn't have boards really. It was just they threw it in an envelope. And he still has some of those books. But that was the way people were getting back issues. And in the 70s, people would buy them from dealers that they knew. And LA had a pretty big community. New York, I'm sure, did.
Yeah, and the Comic Con started in the 70s too. So people were buying books at Comic Cons.
And that was the second iteration. So as the 70s and 80s came up, you got comic book stores opening, comic conventions happening all around the country, and lots more places to buy books. New book sales started to migrate to comic book stores rather than drugstores and other places. The opportunity to buy back issues started to grow once again. And that lasted for a long time. Conventions have always been a mainstay for buying comic books, and comic book stores, your local comic book store, would get a lot of back issues as well. What's different now? So let's talk a little bit about this disruption that happens in any business. It's changed things a little bit, and a lot of it has to do with technology and communication.
So some of the places that people are buying comic books today are things like online claim sales, online auctions, websites, and just online in general.
eBay, hip comics. There's all kinds of options today that didn't exist. eBay's been around for a long time. eBay's been a mainstay. They may be the biggest place to buy books in terms of their selection, but there's lots of others. Claim sales are relatively new. Started during the pandemic for the most part. There are thousands of people doing claim sales, and we're two of them. So, we do claim sales every week, been doing it for years. I know that Bedrock Comics, they do a claim sale every week, been doing it for over 5 years.
Yeah.
A1 was doing, I went to a convention once, was trying to talk to them, they were doing a claim sale. So they went to
don't talk to me.
It was a one-day show, and they were doing a claim sale, and I was looking at the stuff, they were selling all Golden Age. Just another point, each claim sale might be a little bit different in what they offer.
In this era of selling and buying, there's a lot more accessibility to different avenues of buying comic books. And we think there are some pros and cons to that level of accessibility.
There is, like every era and like every, disruption. What have we noticed? One of the things is having a lot of availability means you could spend a lot of money. I saw that most recently in the last few years on Whatnot. You get a lot of books for $1, and people were moving stuff and, getting cheap comic books, maybe low grade, maybe books that just aren't that popular or whatever. It's no different than that old joke about, well, it was on sale, but you spent money you weren't going to spend. I think a lot of people kind of get sucked into that. Next thing you know, they're spending $50, $100, and that bill's adding up. So the opportunity to spend money has never been easier when it comes to comic books. And I think people need to be aware that it can go overboard sometimes for some people, and they find access to so many books that they want that they end up spending maybe more than they should. That's called FOMO, fear of missing out. It's also called going comic broke. So you don't want to do that, right?
And we say that's a con because we didn't say what we were talking about at first.
I mean, it's a pro too, right? We talked about this before the show. It's a pro that you can find stuff. It's a con that you might buy too much.
You can spend money on stuff.
Yeah.
Another con is literally anyone can sell a comic book today. Whereas, in the past, you needed to know a little bit about what you were selling. So, like, if just any random person finds a comic book on the street, they could sell it.
Yeah.
And they might not know anything about that book. They could price it at whatever they want and try to sell it online.
Yep. And they might not know how to grade, or might not care about actually sending you the book after you pay for it, and et cetera, et cetera. So buyer beware on where you buy books. You definitely want to know if the person or place you're buying from has a good reputation. Sometimes you can tell by how many followers they have.
How many reviews they have.
If they have reviews, ask AI. You'll be amazed. I asked AI about some comic sellers, and it was accurate.
Even like during claim sales, people will ask in the chat about like our books and our grading, and like we'll have other customers say like, yeah,
because they've never seen us before. They'll say, hey, can you take that out of the bag? And we're like, sure, we'd love to do that. And you're putting up really high grade books. If someone's new to that, they're like, whoa, wait a minute, that's what are you saying? That's a near mint plus. And yeah, that's what we're saying. So what often we'll do is like people sound up, I mean, how's the grading? And everyone's like going to chime in and say grading's really good here. So I think it's really important to bounce things off people. Don't go into an ecosystem that's an echo chamber, and only that person's telling you how great it is. You don't want to do that.
Another con is a con for sellers is there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people selling, and it can be a little bit overwhelming as a buyer to go in and try to find a book. Like if you're on Whatnot, like there could be sometimes 500 people streaming, selling books at once, vintage comics.
Right.
How do you decide where to go? Like it's a little overwhelming for both the buyer and the seller, honestly. It can be.
You'll go into one sale and they're not telling you a single grade, and you just buy it if you want it, starting at $1 auction, and you spend $8 on a book and you get it and it's missing a page. It's water damaged. It's something you don't like. Maybe you should ask more questions, but the format was going really fast, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people stay away from claim sales because of the high stress that you can be under.
Well, and you don't know what's going to have a lot of the time.
Yeah,
that
so
can be stressful.
That's my favorite. Like, we'll start getting shout outs. Do you have Batman? Not today. How about Spider-Man? Not today. So I think if you go to a claim sale and you're only looking for one or two titles, that might not be the best choice. If you have a wide template of things you look for, claim sales seem to fit that better. But if you're only looking, I'm only looking for X Factor number 92, man, you're never going to have success at a claim sale. Yeah.
Another con is if you're a novice in buying comic books, you may look at one sale that happened recently on a book that you're looking for and think that that's what the price of the book is. and it may have gone for 10 times less than it did before.
Yep.
That's, I think, a con.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there that's not even deliberately misinformation, but you might look up, what was the last sale on eBay for this book? It says $5, and then someone's asking $50. And you're like, that book should go for $5. In very fine or less, yes. In this grade, no, it's actually underpriced. That happens a lot. So I think that people get a general feeling for what a raw book should cost, and it tends to be much lower than they actually should go for in certain scenarios. We're going to talk a little bit about that in this episode.
A couple of pros for online buying are you can buy a book anywhere online. You can literally find a comic book that you're looking for anywhere, with some caveats, depending on how obscure the books are that you're looking for.
So many choices that it's overwhelming.
Another pro is that anyone can buy a comic book now instead of just people that go to comic book stores, that go to comic conventions. Right. If you are wanting to buy a gift for someone, you don't have to go to a comic book store.
That's a great point.
To get them a comic. You can go online and buy one.
The barn door's wide open now. I mean, hey, I want to buy my husband something with Wonder Woman from the 50s. Yeah, go right on eBay. There's a copy. Well, I wonder, if there's other choices. And typically people just go to eBay, right? If they don't have any experience. But a lot of people
Google it and then find it.
Yep. But we're, usually people that come to our YouTube channel are a little more experienced than that, or just trying to learn. And I think YouTube's a great place to learn about things.
Another pro for buying today is that the information of buying comics is so accessible now compared to how it was in the 70s and the 80s. Literally, there's tons of YouTube channels that just give you information. There's tons of Wikipedia stuff online about information for comic books. You can go to GP Analysis, you can go to Cover Price, you can go to Go Collect. There's so much information now that people can gather. It's just trying to find that information and knowing where to go to look for it. But that's another big pro for buying comics today.
It's also work.
It is a lot of work. It's not easy. Yeah. But it's there.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway.
I think we're talking to serious collectors at this point. Serious collectors. I think a serious collector would buy raw because you need to know that what you're getting is the real deal. Really, here's the big reason why I stayed away from selling raw books. I like high grade. Now, we sell every grade, and you're going to see that in this episode. We'll sell a coverless book if we have one and it's in demand. However, my inclination is to provide for my customers, and I have quite a few customers, the highest grade copies of the back issues they want from the Bronze and Copper Age. And raw, because they're going to be cheaper. Raw is always going to be cheaper. Mm-hmm. In most cases, raw is going to be cheaper
than buying a slab of its equivalent.
Than buying a graded copy. The difference there is how rare a book is. If you have a book and there's no copies available anywhere, and it's raw, chances are that if you sell it raw, it could go for more than the last slab, depending on when the slab sold, etc., the grade, the page quality, the centering, how it presents, on and on and on. So there's nuance. There's so much nuance to buying raw comics, and that might stop some people because of the amount of work. Like a slab is cut and dry. Hey, man, someone else said it was this, not you, third party. And at that third party, they probably had a second person look at it. I really trust that more than any seller. And you know what? If you feel that way, I don't think I blame you. I felt that way for a long time. What's funny is the collection I carried around for 20 years did not have one slab book in it. Every book was raw. And I submitted tons of them, and they got 9/8 because they were so high grade, because that's how I like books. By liking books like that, I search books out like that. Also, I don't have a narrow field. I like all high-grade books. If it was from the 50s and it's not popular, but it's super high-grade, chances are I want it, because my customers are looking for high-grade. I also have customers that can consistently get lower-grade books from us, and because that's not necessarily my big focus, I sometimes price those pretty aggressively, and we'll show some of that. Aggressive meaning like a little cheaper, because I'm trying to always put my money into the highest grade books I can. But man, I don't mind selling 2 O's, 3 5s, 4 O's, 5 O's, depends on what era. If it's like bronze or copper, I won't even bring it out. I have tens of thousands of books that did not make the grade that are in storage now, because they're just too low grade for what I sell. Personally, I bought countless books online, countless, tens of thousands.
Thousands and thousands.
Tens of thousands. What do I look for? If I can, now on collections I don't require this whatsoever, but if I'm buying a onesie, one book, I need to know the grade. In a case where they don't have the grade, I need a picture set that I can establish. This is not a picture.
Especially with the
Let me make sure to get the
bag.
wrinkles in there. This picture, this book is blah, blah. No, thank you.
It's so high grade, no number.
You're seeing half the book through a filter. So that doesn't tell you anything. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I like to have good pictures, and the older the book are, the more the pictures I want. I want the inside of the front cover. I want the staples. If we're talking about a 50s book, I'm looking for corrosion. I'm looking for bleed through, all these little things that happen in those eras, but you want a grade. Why am I saying that? There's lots of sellers. Oh, this is nice. This one's nice.
And it's $100.
Yeah. So they're pricing it. They found a price that is associated with a grade. I think sometimes buyers think, well, if it's $100, it must be a near mint. They get it. It's a very fine plus. They might be really unhappy with that. Last thing you want if you do this seriously for a living is unhappy customers.
Especially with grade, at least for us, like grade is such an important aspect of our business.
We're very grade forward.
We get very upset if a grade isn't what we expect it to be.
We put Post-its, and the grade is the biggest part.
Yeah.
We want everyone to know what grade it is, and we actually grade, and the way we grade is take it out of the bag. Look at the front, look at the back. We're going to show you a book in a minute that is a raw 9.8, and just look at the way we look at it. It's easier to buy from someone who does have a selection of things rather than just one thing. Let's say you went to a place or sale or whatever. They had Spider-Mans. You like Spider-Mans. Well, you don't want Spider-Mans every week. So it's nice to have a wide selection of eras, of grades. You don't just want super high grade. Sometimes you're trying to find that key in any grade. So there's lots of nuance to this. But I do like to go places that I can find a lot of different things. It makes me more excited.
It also saves you. It also saves you money on shipping. Like if you go to eBay and you find a seller and you like a book that they have, and then you find that they have a bunch of other books that you also like that's a win for a customer and a seller.
Yeah, pet peeve: don't buy one book. If you buy one book and it's less than shipping or it's the same price, $6 book, $6 shipping, 10% tax, you need to buy a couple more books. Find things you like, because you need to start to minimize the amount of money you're spending just to get the book in front of you. We might sell a book for $15 landed that's a $6 book. Well, we don't like that. Yeah. And I get that the fact that, somebody just wanted that book and they're willing to pay because it's the right grade, it looks good, whatever.
And maybe someone hasn't bought from us before, and so they don't know what to expect with the grading. Like some people will get a book from us and be shocked at how nice it is. And we have reviews on eBay that were like, wow, this book was so nice.
Yeah. Because
and when we said it was a 9.6 or a near
we tend to grade down. So if we think it's a 9.4 or 9.6, we'll say 9.4.
So selection is important because people...
Yeah. For me, it's like if I go on and you only have one book I want and I don't want any more, I've literally skipped buying that book because the expense as a percentage of the sale didn't make sense to me. If you know what I mean. And finally, consistent grading. Like if you get a book from them one time and it's a 9.2 and they said it was a 9.0 or a 9.2, you're happy with that. You get a book next time and it's way under. If you're looking at the wrong 50% of the time, that's probably bad.
And I think that also leads to another aspect, which is like communication. I know that's a huge thing for us, like in our business, is communicating with our customers, especially unhappy customers.
In an open way.
Yeah, in very open way. Like
because like eBay doesn't let you talk about anything and you can't do anything outside of eBay. So if we wanted to send somebody something else, it gets a little complicated.
Yeah, but that's a big aspect of I think, buying from sellers directly is communicating with
that's why we sell in multiple places, so we can communicate with our customer, because my goal for what I do personally is I'm doing this for the rest of my life. I'm building customers that I hope will always look to me and Rachel to fill their collecting needs long term. It's not about one time. So there are lots of sellers like that. You just have to kind of really hunt around till you find them. And once you do find one, stay open-minded. Always be looking for, is there some opportunities that someone else might have other good books. Turns into a lot of work. It can often be worth it.
A couple other things too are packing and forms of payment. Those are just things to consider when you're buying something. Because obviously packing, if you're buying comics online and you do care about grade, you want to make sure the person knows how to pack and ship their books. Yeah. Some of the ways I've seen people ship books is like insane to me.
Some of the complaining I've seen people do is entertaining. It's like, what? Did someone throw that against a wall? And
we've changed our process a lot since the beginning, and we've learned a lot about shipping. And
we've always done well.
Yes.
But when we get a damaged book, we start talking about like, what can we do different that book doesn't get damaged. And our shipping is excellent. I'm really proud of how we do it. But it came from a lot of hard work and a lot of discussion.
Yeah. And then, having payment options available to people is helpful. Like we've expanded our payment options a lot over the years.
getting ready to, I'm going to bring Bitcoin on, possibly barter, you know. How about a blanket?
Give
and
me a casserole
casserole.
and a knitted
I will
sweater.
trade you a tuna casserole, a knitted sweater. Okay.
So before we get into the books that we're going to be talking about today, we wanted to kind of give you guys our process in how we sell comic books. As you know, we do a claim sale every single Monday night at 5 p.m. And that's typically where we bring a majority of our books for the first time to our customers. They all have a grade on it. They're all individually priced. We look at every single one of those books deeply before we show them to the customer.
Fresh bag and board, whole 9 yards, a board in the middle to protect the spine.
And we're showing 8 books at a time typically, for about 2 hours. So that's our first process. After the sale, any books that we didn't sell, we put on Instagram as a buy it now, and we let that sit for about a week. And if any books that are not sold on the buy it nows, we move over to eBay. At least for now, we might change that in the future.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how our books move through our process.
That's our flow.
That's our flow.
And we're adding one more element, which is weekly auctions.
It has changed. Like we're all for changing. So if we need to change, we will. That's what's working for us right now.
just get in front of people so they can see what we have.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some books that have sold. We've never done this before.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about
tell
prices that we got, books that we sold in the last week.
Yes. So the first books we're going to be talking about are Silver Age Keys. So I'll tell you the book, the grade, what we sold it for, and what it sold for last on eBay. So I think this will be interesting information.
Yeah, I mean, we're only one person that doesn't report, so this will never be reported. You'll never see that this sale happened. It's more information for you. And if you like this kind of content, please let us know in the comments if you want us to continue to tell you what prices that we sell things for that actually sell. One thing before you get started on the prices too, I price things to sell, not to sit. It makes no sense to me. I'm not a convention. I can't put some highball price. So I'm looking at what things sold for, and in many cases I try to drop it under that. The exceptions are if they're very hard to find, or if there's no examples of that particular book in that grade being sold.
Or if they're very high grade.
Yeah, so that.
Which we have those all the time.
That.
That. Also, if you like this content, subscribe to the channel. Just want to say that. Okay, the first book that we sold this was all in like the last month, was Tales of Suspense 52, which is the first appearance of Black Widow.
Yep.
I don't have actual pictures of these.
In the future, we'll start taking pictures because we just kind of threw this together.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about some sales.
Yeah, we'd never have time to do that. Yeah, this was a good. So it was a 2.0, and we sold it for $195.
Yep, sold. No negotiation. Put it up. Sold immediately, and it actually presented better than that. Much better. It had some issues. Was it still connected to the staple?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
A 2.0, it could have a piece missing. Like there's a lot. I didn't write down the issues with it, but a lot of these like Silver Age books, I had to look through every single page to make sure pages weren't missing. So
we had to count pages, look at staples.
So the prices reflect the grade and the issues with it. One just recently sold in an equivalent grade in an auction for $330.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, sometimes if I see on eBay or whatever a price, I just go to the price that I think it will sell at.
Auctions are hard to base what a book's value is because an auction can be different every single day depending on who's looking at it.
I know what that book is. I know how popular it is. You know, I knew I could have charged more, but I also just wanted to move it. So it was like, let's just put it up. And sure enough, it went almost immediately.
Yes.
And we have others like that.
Yeah, the next one is Tales of Suspense 53, which is the second appearance of Black Widow. This one was a higher grade. It was a fine plus.
Yeah, that's much higher.
Which is a 6.5, and we sold it for $130.
Yep, another satisfied customer getting a key for an affordable price. I really like low grade keys because I can offer them to people and they can afford something that can be very expensive and high grade.
Yeah.
So I dig those. Yeah.
And one recently sold on eBay. It said it was a very good plus. It honestly looked a little bit lower than that. It sold for $135.
Yeah. So once again, I'm trying to price a little bit under the market if I can, when I can, depending on how much I have in a book, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, these are really typical sales for us. We have more.
And I will say too, a lot of these anything that's listed right now is way higher than what we sold them for. Just throwing that out there too.
To be fair, on eBay there's like an expense to sell there, and people like jack up the price and wait for negotiations, or just wait for someone to come along and pluck it. That's not our model.
No.
Our model is to show it to you, talk about it, let you know what it is, and usually within that 2-hour block it sells.
Tales of Suspense 57, which is the first appearance of Hawkeye, ours was a good, so it was a 2.0, and we sold it for $160.
Which is a great price for that book. And I was glad to have a copy in that grade. It's nice to be able to offer keys affordably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was one on eBay that sold that did not have a grade associated with it that sold for $165. It did look a little bit more jacked up than ours. But it's hard to tell in pictures. You know how it is. The next one is Journey into Mystery number 102, which is the first appearance of Sif. Ours was a very good plus. So it was a 4.5. And we sold it for $45.
Yep, these are all raw books, and these are the kind of books that we sell in our claim sales. As a matter of fact, a lot of people sell books like this at their claim sales.
Mm-hmm. And one sold in Very Good, which is a 4.0, in an auction recently for $52.
Yep.
So that's pretty good. The next one is Tales of Suspense 48, which is the debut of Iron Man's classic red costume or red suit. It was a 4.0, so a very good, and we sold it for $140.
Yep, and that thing flew off the shelf.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a very good minus sold on eBay recently for $180. I didn't look at the grade on that one, so I don't know if it was actually a 3.5 or not, but there it is. The last one I have sales data on is Wolverine number 1. We had a near mint that we just recently sold for $200.
Yeah, you'll see those as much as $1,100. I think the prices that you're seeing on eBay are primarily newsstand. It doesn't say so if you look on cover price, for instance. For the slab version, I wanted to sell it. I wanted to sell it at a fair price, but not a giveaway price, and this is kind of a segue. There are people that think if it's raw, $50. If it's a $500 slab, like there's some magic dust that CGC has that makes a book that's not near mint, and they're the only ones that have it, and that's why they get that price. I think that there's a consideration for how much it costs to slab, but outside of that, if you grade a book and it's near mint, it's not something else. I mean, it's hard to call a near mint plus when it's not.
Right. Well, and I think that also goes back into like, do you trust the seller that you're buying from?
Yeah.
Because
will they take a refund? Will they, if you say, hey man, I don't like this.
I don't like this book.
I mean, those are considerations, and yeah, if someone was ever unhappy with our stuff, please send it back. You don't even have to tell me why. Just send me the same book in the same condition. You know what I'm saying?
A 9.8 recently sold on eBay for $250 slabbed for the Wolverine number 1.
Yeah. So, and there's also other ones that sold for much more.
Oh, totally. That's like the lowest that it sold for.
Because the one that sold like right before that was $650. So that was a low ball, and that's why it's now a $250. No, find one for $250, and that's the whole thing. So I started looking like, can you find one for $300? You might, $350 maybe, maybe. So that's kind of my goal with raw is like I can always slab it myself.
There are also, I just wanted to have like a short little list of a handful of 9.8s that we've sold recently and how much we sold them for. Near Mint Mints, raw.
Yeah.
So we have sold 3 copies of X Factor number 6 and Near Mint Mint in the last month for $235.
They're warehouse finds. And the funny thing about that is you might look and say, wow, the last slab sold for $235. Find a $235 slab. It was probably an auction. They're all much more. And I'll tell you, I've talked to some people after they got them. They're super happy with these books.
They're so nice.
Bone white pages, uncirculated, just really nice books.
We sold a Near Mint Mint copy of Akira number 1 for $230.
Tough to find that square-bound black book in Near Mint Mint. And so, yeah, it flew.
Dark Horse Presents number 1 and Near Mint Mint we sold for $50.
First appearance of Concrete. First comic by Dark Horse.
Web of Spider-Man number 1. We sold 2 Near Mint Mints in the last 2 weeks. One
raw.
Was a direct, raw. One was a direct, one was a newsstand. The direct sold for $75.
Yep.
The newsstand sold for $115.
And that's just an example. So you can get Near Mint books. Maybe not exactly what you're looking for. That's why you need to look. You really need to look. We're not the only people that sell them. We are pretty established. We've been doing this for a couple of years. I want to show some more books real quick. So we've sold 3 raw copies of this. I think 2 have been Near Mint. I submitted one to CGC. It got Near Mint. We auctioned it. I think it got $365. This is another copy of $6 Million Man number 1. And let's look at it. I'm going to show you like part of our process, but this has not been pressed, by the way. And I think it could use a press even though it's a near mint. But if I was to submit this, I feel like it would still get a near mint. You can get a 9.8 if there's like an ever so slight spine roll from storage and stuff. There are some things that are not qualifying in terms of like a defect, and we understand what they are. So it's really important for us to know how to grade. But this book's pristine, bone white pages. I mean, it's just as good of a copy as you're ever going to find. And I found 5 of them. So that I was really
crazy,
because that's all I look for is stuff like this. Here's another book. I have a copy of Cobra #3. I had the whole run, and these are just pristine. Not exactly hot right now. Now I had my original collection. I had a Cobra #1. I put it to auction 3 or 4 years ago. Got $800 for it. So it really is timing. Like there were so few on the census at that point. There's a few more now. Here's a copy of Warlock #5. This is also a raw near mint. These are still in the. We have not processed these for sale. I just grabbed some in a box that I had handy for this show, so I can just show. Like if you didn't think that there's really great near mints out there that aren't slabbed, let me show you some. Here's Luke Cage, Hero for Hire #2 in near mint. This book is pristine. Now all of these books I'm showing you have just as white a pages as they can, and they're uncirculated. Here's a Luke Cage #6. Beautiful. I had the 8. It came back near mint, the Dr. Doom cover. Here's Conan #10. This book's tough because it's square bound and it has the staples. You can still get a 9.8 because it can't be flat because the book has staples here instead of here. So there's bumps, but it's, still very tough to find them in this super high grade. That's that group. I also grabbed another stack that are just really high grade. Yeah, from 1981, this is Batman 337. This is a near mint. I decided I think I'm just going to slab it because it's, I would ask $100 for this book raw. And I think a lot of people, they don't want like just a back issue. They don't want to spend that, but they will on a slab. A slab of this probably cost $160, $180. So here's some Marvel team-ups. Here's Marvel team-up #5. These are all really nice. I was pulling these out of the bag today just to double check, Marvel team-up #7. These are early 20 centers. Second series that Spider-Man was featured in. And I have a whole run of these that are all either 9.4, 9.6, and some 9.8s. All of them. Just beautiful. And my brother's put dibs on these, on every issue he needs. He said, I'd like to finish up my run. There's tons of stock that we have that are high grade, and it is just the point that, you can find a lot of high grade books and not pay the premium if you find a dealer that knows how to grade and is traditionally really spot on. Like here's some of the Dead Man issues in Strange Adventures, Neil Adams covers. These are all really high grade. Just looking at them without like this needs to be cleaned, but without anything, they're like 9.0s and 9.2s. And that's high grade. I mean, that's kind of what you want to get. If you can get them raw, they're going to be a lot cheaper than the slab. These are all Neil Adams covers right here. And finally, I have some older books. Here's some, I'm not going to even go through the numbers. Here's some House of Mysteries, all very high grade. And I've got just box after box of stuff like this because it's what we feature is high grade stuff. And you might notice like, well, those aren't the big keys or anything. No, man, I'm a collector's guy. I'm more than an investment. I'm really about satisfying collectors that are looking for back issues in grade that it might be hard to find. So all of these are really nice. So yeah, hopefully you got something out of this. You can get very high-grade books that are not slabbed. You have to be discerning if you're going to really, be happy if grade's a thing. If grade's not a thing, you can definitely do better than slab prices. Although sometimes you can get a steal on slabs because they're a little bit unpopular right now. I've seen slabs go for under the cost for a slab.
Yeah.
I've seen people break books out and get more for them raw. So there's a bad stigma right now. Don't know how long that's going to last. I wouldn't say the slabbing's dead, but it's definitely going through a change right now. I still think they're really valuable in terms of like catching restoration, long-term storage. There's lots of reasons to have a book professionally graded. If I had an Action #1, would I keep it raw? Maybe, maybe, because I'd be so anxious about sending it to anyone. I'd have to hand deliver it and you're not touching my book type thing, you know what I mean? So I don't know. What do you think? Hopefully you got something out of this.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, follow us over on Instagram, and we'll see you guys next time.
Next time.